Over the longer horizon, the Prime Minister mentioned a moment ago the $100 billion of investments already in India by our pension funds. Those pension funds have $2 trillion in capital. They're already some of the largest foreign investors here. Potential for significant growth, particularly given the scale of the infrastructure build in this country.
There you have it, guys. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. This is Canuck News. But today's article, today's story, I really wanted to get into this because I do support signing trade deals. I think we need to be trading with everybody, import, export, start exporting as much as possible. We need this. We need this, and we need to start investing in our own manufacturing at home, and then work on exporting anything that we've manufactured as well. The one thing that I want to call out when it comes to stories like this is just the mass hypocrisy that exists when Carney gives speeches. And we're going to get into that right now because Carney just secured a $2.6 billion uranium deal with India, guys. He's launched these talks of this comprehensive trade deal, and the goal is to double India trade to $70 billion over the next 5 years. 2 years ago, India was accused of murdering a Canadian on Canadian soil. There's public inquiry found that India was the second largest country that was interfering with Canadian elections and politics after China. It's funny that the two nations that are actually like the biggest competitors with each other, probably in the world, China and India, they have constant border disputes around the Himalayas, are both interfering in Canadian politics. I just find that amazing. Carney calls this value-based realism, but honestly, I think it's just a whole bunch of hypocrisy that's coming out of the guy's mouth. And I'd like to show you why. Prime Minister Mark Carney secured a $2.6 billion deal to supply Canadian uranium to India Monday and launched talks on a comprehensive trade deal with New Delhi as he wrapped up a 4-day visit to the subcontinent aimed at repairing years of ruptured ties. The uranium deal was one of 10 commercial agreements touted during the trip and valued at a combined $5.5 billion. Unlike the uranium contract, many had been made public months ago. The Prime Minister, who has set a goal of doubling non-U.S. trade over the next decade, said cooperation with India would make both countries more self-reliant. With this new partnership, we will not stop until the goals of Atmanirbhar Bharat and Canada Strong are reached, he said, using a Hindi phrase for self-sufficient India. Mr. Carney touted an approach he calls values-based realism has largely sidestepped questions over meddling by New Delhi in Canada, including the allegations it was behind the 2023 murder of a Canadian Sikh activist. Last year, a public inquiry report flagged India as the second most active country engaging in electoral foreign interference in Canada after China. India's envoy to Ottawa, Dinesh Patnaik, signaled there would be no softening of his country's position on this matter, telling reporters accompanying Mr. Carney that as far as New Delhi is concerned, it has never conducted foreign interference in Canada. All right, guys, this is where it's kind of where I want to stop. I think there's a lot to unpack here, guys, because so China interferes in Canadian elections. There's no reason to even doubt that, right? Canada condemns them, we restrict the ties, and we call it a threat to sovereignty. India interferes in Canadian elections and is accused of murdering a Canadian on Canadian soil, but Canada signs a $5.5 billion deal with them. Guys, what's the difference? The difference is we need India to buy our uranium for diversification efforts. That's really what it comes down to, so that we can keep pushing this rhetoric that this mass diversification is really going to curtail or supplant U.S. trade. Carney calls this values-based realism. He says not every partner will share all our values. What does that even mean, guys? That means we're going to overlook murder and foreign interference when there's money involved. And this is literally the timeline, guys. In 2023, India was accused of murdering Hardeep Singh Nijjar in BC. In 2024, public inquiry finds India as the second most active country in interfering in Canadian elections after China. And in October 2024, Canada actually expels Indian diplomats as persons of interest in a murder investigation. The RCMP is investigating violence, extortion, intimidation against the Sikh diaspora by Modi's government, guys. And in March 2026, Carney signs a $2.6 billion uranium deal, and he launches these comprehensive trade talks. And the Indian envoy even says that India has never interfered in Canada. No. We would never do that. No, there's just 22 Indian Canadian members of parliament, but they have no way of interfering in Canadian politics. I don't know. Carney never challenges him. He calls it values-based realism, and it just ends up being a fancy word for hypocrisy. And the only value here is that we're in economic desperation. We need to diversify because we're constrained right now. And when you need something that badly, you're going to call it pragmatic. That's what it comes down to. The two leaders also launched talks on Comprehensive Economic Partnership, CEPA, following a meeting of chief negotiators in New Delhi, a deal the Prime Minister's office said would support Canada's goal of more than doubling the two-way trade with India to $70 billion by 2030. Mr. Carney's office said Canada and India will also increase defense cooperation, including on maritime security, and identify opportunities for joint naval activities, including with other countries, underscoring our shared commitment to security and resilience. Canada and India also pledged to work more closely on security and law enforcement, including on ingredients for illegal production of fentanyl, as well as transnational organized criminal networks. Canada and India announced a strategic energy partnership to work together on liquefied natural gas, uranium, solar, and hydrogen. They signed two non-binding memorandums of understanding to collaborate on critical minerals and energy and strengthen cooperation in solar, wind, biofuels, hydropower. The Prime Minister's office said Canada intends to join the International Solar Alliance, which was set up by India and France. Canada and India are emerging from a two-way diplomatic freeze for more than 2 years. Only 16 months ago, Canada-India relations hit an all-time low point when Ottawa accused Indian diplomats of being part of a campaign of violence against Canadians and expelled New Delhi's top envoy as well as other diplomats. The Prime Minister bragged in his remarks Monday that his cabinet has conducted more engagement between the Canadian and Indian governments this year than there has been in any year in the past 2 decades. Mr. Modi told reporters Monday that Mr. Carney deserves all the credit for the turnaround in Canada-India relations. So guys, I really want to stop right here for a second because I think there's a lot to unpack in what we just read. Canada has accepted 656,000 Indian immigrants between 2020 and 2025. That's almost 30% of all immigration to Canada in that period came from one country, guys. In 2023 alone, almost 140,000 Indian immigrants arrived. That is literally 30% of all immigration that year. The 2025 election, there was 22 Indian Canadian MPs elected to Parliament, guys. That's a record number. And here's what happens when you accept that many immigrants from one country. You create a diaspora voting bloc. That's 1.86 million Indian Canadians right now. That bloc votes for candidates with ties to their homeland, guys. And some of those MPs maintain connections to the Indian government. We have a case study with Chandra Arya. He's an Indian Canadian Liberal MP who in August 2024 traveled to India and met with Narendra Modi without telling the Canadian government, guys. And he opposed recognizing the 1984 anti-Sikh riots as genocide. The Globe and Mail actually reported the CSIS briefed the government about Arya's close ties to Modi's government and the Indian High Commission. What happens in January 2025? He was deemed manifestly unfit for Liberal leadership, guys. And in March 2025, the Liberal Party revoked his nomination. So when Hardeep Singh Nijjar advocates for Khalistan from Canada, India sees it as interference in their affairs. And then they killed him. So Canada quite literally created these structural conditions for India to want to interfere in Canadian internal politics. This is how that happens. This is just an example with one group of people coming into Canada. it's a similar thing with everybody that comes to Canada. If you bring in that many people, they group together, and then the home country from whence they came is going to have interests into looking in to Canadian politics, and then maybe influencing how Canada perceives the home country, what kind of investments go there, this and that, how much money that they can send over. It's all intertwined, guys. And then we act shocked when that same country uses those ties to interfere in our politics. It makes sense that they would interfere in our politics, guys. We built this vulnerability ourselves. In a nod to significant foreign policy differences between India and Canada, Mr. Carney, in a Mumbai speech Saturday, said Ottawa can work with partners even if it sometimes disagrees with them. India, for instance, has a friendly relationship and robust energy and arms trade with Russia. Mr. Modi played host to Russian President Vladimir Putin last December and praised their deep and unbreakable relationship. By comparison, Canada has spent more than $25 billion in recent years to help its ally Ukraine fight off Russia's full-scale invasion, which began in 2022. I'd also like to question, when did Canada actually become an ally of Ukraine? That we call it an ally. Just asking for a friend. When was this alliance actually announced? The Prime Minister said in Mumbai, his approach is pragmatic and principled, recognizing that progress is often incremental, that interests of nations can diverge, and that not every partner will share all of our values. A new poll conducted for the Asia Pacific Foundation by the Angus Reid Institute finds Canadians' views toward India have not warmed at the same pace as official relations. Only 3 in 10 or 30% say they have favorable view of India, the survey found. The diplomatic reset with India has not yet translated into public opinion. Reset Vina Najibullah, Vice President of Research and Strategy of the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada, said, Canadians support engagement, but they don't feel positively about India. She said, if Ottawa wants this reset to endure, it will need to clearly articulate why India matters to Canada's economic security and diversification and how it is dealing with the ongoing foreign interference and security concerns, guys. I'm going to stop here a little and really kind of break this down, because Carney says he wants to reduce dependence on the U.S. by doubling non-U.S. trade, guys. And his target to double that trade with India is $70 billion by 2030. And here's the problem with calling that diversification. If Carney doubles non-U.S. trade from roughly $170 billion to $340 billion, and India becomes $70 billion of the $340 billion, they're going to represent literally 20% of all non-U.S. trade. So you're diversifying, but you're diversifying by finding other dependents. The Indian economy is massive. Well, I mean, right now, it's pretty similar to the size of the Canadian economy from a nominal GDP standpoint. It's around $3 trillion. Canada's is at 2. But 1.4 billion people, the economy is growing drastically, creating the circumstances just for another replacement of basically of the U.S. And here are some geopolitical contradictions that come with that, guys. India has a friendly relationship and robust energy arms trade with Russia. We read it. Modi hosted Putin in December and praised their deep, unbreakable relationship. And Canada has spent $25 billion helping Ukraine fight Russia. So we're funding a war against Russia while signing trade deals with a country that's actually arming Russia. India is actively buying Russian energy. They even buy Russian military goods. So they're funding the Russian economy for this war in Ukraine. This is what economic desperation starts looking like, or at least political rhetorical hypocrisy, to say the least. If it's not economic desperation, it's definitely extreme hypocrisy. Because we need to sell our uranium and we need trade partners that aren't the U.S. We need it badly enough to overlook murder in our own country, foreign interference, foreign political interference, and even geopolitical contradictions, guys. That's how bad we need this. And only 30% of Canadians actually have a favorable view of India. The public doesn't support this. Carney's doing it anyways. And this isn't values-based realism, guys. This isn't even realism. It's desperation with better branding. And when you're that desperate, you'll sign a deal with anyone who will take your call. And you're going to call it pragmatic. I don't have a problem personally with us having a straight import-export relationship with India. I don't. But I don't like when Canadian politicians go there and then they start virtue signaling in a different nation, saying, you know, we're being very pragmatic. We're this value-based realism. We need to band together. We need to shut the fuck up. Just sell the uranium to them. Take the money. If you need something from India, buy it and move on with your life. Come on. Here's another great contradiction of this. India has started building a photovoltaics industry, solar power industry. They're making their own panels and all of that. Why isn't Canada? We keep touting all of this clean tech. We have all of this. Why are we not manufacturing any of this? No, we're going to go to India, whose people have like a very poor standard of living. We're going to go over there and we're going to start signing these deals with India to use tech. Why are we not building any of the tech ourselves? Why are we not selling to India high-tech Canadian solar or batteries or whatever it is? Just a question. But why all of this matters really to Canadians, guys, is that Mark Carney's values-based realism establishes a dangerous precedent, guys, for foreign governments can murder Canadians and actually interfere in our elections as long as they offer us trade deals. China interferes, we condemn them, India interferes and kills a Canadian citizen, and then we sign a $5.5 billion deal with them. We accepted almost 700,000 Indian immigrants in 5 years, guys. We're creating a diaspora bloc, voting bloc in our country that elects MPs with homeland ties, and some maintain those connections to Modi's government still. We built the structural vulnerabilities, and now we're acting shocked when India tries to exploit them, man. This isn't trade diversification, guys. It's India would be 20% of all non-US trade. We're replacing US dependence with India dependence. And India arms Russia while we fund Ukraine. Only 30% of Canadians support these closer ties. And we're doing it anyways. This is what happens when economic desperation overrides sovereignty, guys. Foreign governments learn they can get away with anything if they dangle trade deals in front of Mark Carney. That's all I have for you guys today. Please let me know what you guys think about creating these closer ties with the Indian government. Like, share, and subscribe. My name is Miloš Krajčnik. Stay informed, stay curious, and God bless Canada.
This is Canada. Maple syrup and like Captain say, ay, kick your ass all hockey season, ay, now teach me riding horses, ay, yeah, this is Canada.